Let's mount it back up on top and see how it does. Well, it seems to be lifting it okay. Now we need to determine our motor mount for the stepper motor. So we need to make some pieces from here to here. Tap this, run screws through this piece into this to hold the motor in place. And it looks like we could probably just trim these corners off a little bit here, or just leave it either one. Looks like it's sticking out a little bit past the front of the motor, so I can trim it off some to make sure it doesn't hit the spindle motor. But that's how it's going to be. So let me get those plates figured out here to mount that, and we'll take it from there. I made a couple pieces out of some scrap MDF that I think I'm going to use as a pattern to make the aluminum pieces to mount this Z-axis stepper motor. That's the similar method that they used on my CNC router for mounting the stepper motors, as spacing it off to allow for the coupling. So I think that's going to work. Just had to notch it to clear the little step on the motor there. Get it centered up and mark the holes and drill straight through. Run screws through, tapped into here. These are 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch, so I need to find some aluminum pieces that size if I got enough, and get them made. Well, I looked around and I didn't have enough scrap or any pieces of aluminum big enough to make these two uprights for the stepper motor out of. So I figured, well, I had to order a small piece from McMaster Car, so I won't be in for a few days because it's the weekend. So while I'm waiting, I decided to go ahead and get the bolt pattern of the stepper motor so we could get it transferred to the top plate and drill and tap those holes. And I tried measuring the distance between the bolt hole pattern and couldn't come up with anything even in millimeters or in inches. So I took the number off the stepper motor and kind of looked it up on the computer and found the dimensions for it, and it turns out that the bolt hole spacing in inches is 1.854 or 1.855. I think in metric it was 40 point something millimeters, or 40 something point something millimeters. So I wrote a little program on Dolphin Cam to get the hole spacing, and tried it in a little piece of scrap MDF and put it on here, and it fits perfectly as far as the bolt holes. I put the screws through there and it fits perfect. So now what I need to do is take the top plate and fasten it down to our mini pallet again, and get the center of this hole located so we can spot drill with a center drill the 4 holes, and then we'll take it to the drill press and drill them out. So I'll go ahead and get this set up on the CNC router. I've got the top plate clamped down on the CNC again, and using a center finder to locate the center of the hole, and then we'll run the program and spot drill the hole pattern. That should be centered right there. It's a lot of setup just to mark 4 holes, but to get it accurate, that's the best way to do it. Alright, I'm getting ready to tap the top plate now, and I'm going to just put the tap in the drill press. I've got the drill press unplugged and the V-belt off of it so it'll turn freer, and I'll get it started and lined up. And I'll put a clamp on it just to hold it. Feels like I'm through now. A little tight, but that's good. 3 more to go. I went ahead and drilled the holes through these MDF spacers and bolted the stepper motor to it. Got the coupling on there. So I think I'm going to give it a try and see if it's going to work. Okay, I've got the stepper motor connected back to the control box. Got Mach 3 up. So time to see if she's going to work. Well, it seems like it's working fine. I certainly couldn't do that with the old mount with the ball screw off to the side. I couldn't do it that. It would just hang up most of the time for any long distance. You could do little short distances, but you'd have to go slow. So I'm real pleased with this. Now I've got to mount the gearbox onto the front, which is going to add some weight, and also the spindle motor on top. So I think I'll go ahead and take it apart, take the top plate off, stepper motor off, top plate off, slide that head off and mount the gearbox part to it and spindle motor, and then put it back together and try it again. Well, I can't mount the spindle on there now because it bolts from underneath here. The screws come up here, so I have to take this back off. And it's going to be awful close to having enough room here. I may have to trim this top plate off, but I won't know until I take this off and mount the spindle to it and see if it'll fit back on there. So let me do that. Well, it looks like the spindle's not going to fit until I trim this off. I need to trim it off on this line here, which is about 5/16 back from the front, and then notch a little place here for the back radius of the spindle motor, which shouldn't interfere with the mounting of the stepper motor. So I'll bandsaw this off, bandsaw that out, and then I guess I'll put it on the mini pallet on the CNC router and trim it off just to smooth it up a little bit. Well, there it is cut out, so we'll put it back together and try again. See if everything's going to fit right. I've got the spindle motor mounted back onto its plate here. So we're going to put it back on here and see if she's going to fit. I've got clearance here, so I'm okay there. Let's bolt this down. Now we'll mount this switch box on the side here. Although, I think I may have to take this back off and turn that motor 90 degrees because the cable's not allowing me to reach the screw holes, the tapped holes there. So let me do that. Okay, I got the motor turned around, putting the switch box on now. Well, I got it plugged up so we can test it, make sure the spindle still works. So we're good to go there. I went ahead and greased the gears on this spindle motor before I put it back together. Put a little grease on the gears. So let's work on the top plate now. Ah, you sucker. But it looks like we're going to have plenty of clearance now since we cut the front of the top plate out. Okay, I got the bearing and the bolts or nuts back on the top plate, so everything's connected there. So before we mount the stepper motor back on, I got the piece of aluminum in to make the supports for the stepper motor, so I'm going to go ahead and make them next, and then we'll put them on. I've got the piece of aluminum set up on the CNC router to spot the bolt holes. Just spot them with a center drill and then take it to the drill press and drill it. This is the drawing I made to do the cam for spotting the two holes. I can get it more accurate doing it that way than trying to measure it off and mark it by hand. So I used the center finder to get the center of the material and the distance from the end, which is 7/32. So that's where we're at now. And I'm going to go ahead and spot two holes and then turn it around. I've got it flush with the end of the vise, so I can just turn it around and make the other end flush with the end of the vise, and then run the program again, spot the other two holes. Then we'll put them in a vise and drill them on the drill press, and then we'll cut it into the two pieces and trim the ends. Got the holes finished drilling, but it looks like it led off a little bit, especially on these two. These two aren't quite as bad, but hopefully it won't mess us up. Before we mount the stepper motor, I'm going to mill a hole or rectangular opening in each of these two mounts for the stepper motor to allow access to get to the set screws on the coupling. Well, I think I'm ready to put this thing back together and put the stepper motor on it. So let's give that a shot. Well, I think we're ready to test it out again. I like that. That's working good. That's about as low as I can go. That's working great. I'm really happy with that. So now it's just a matter of putting all the rest of the X and Y axis back together and get it running, and then we'll be all set. So let me do that. Well, finally got it all back together and everything seems to be working good. I love the way the Z-axis is working now. So it was a lot of work. It took a good bit of time to do this, but it was very well worth it, and I'm really happy the way it turned out. I don't have to worry about skipping steps anymore, particularly when I run a CAM program. And so I appreciate y'all watching, and that's it for now, and I'll see you next time.